He tilted his head back and released a small sigh as the sun heated his skin and warmed him from the outside in. It was perfect out today. And though he was looking forward to tonight, this was just what he needed as he adjusted the sunglasses on his face and reached for the glass of ice water sitting beside him. His hand fumbled with air before a cool bottle was thrust into it. He reluctantly cracked open one of his eyes as curiosity got the best of him. The grinning face of his father greeted him as he nodded toward the bottle. "Happy birthday." John frowned as his gaze finally turned toward the bottle. Beads of water slid down the long neck and were already beginning to gather on his hand. An eyebrow lifted as he stared at the beer label. Was this some kind of trap? "I know it's not your first, but I think you're old enough for us to share one together." He almost opened his mouth to deny his father's statements, but what was the point? "It's not a trap." John returned his father's easy smile as he seemed to read his mind. "I shared my first beer with my father on my 18th birthday, and I thought we should do the same." "Mom?" "She doesn't have to know about this," his father said with a laugh, and tipped the bottle back to his mouth. John nodded his agreement as he took his first tentative sip. It wasn't his first beer, not even his first of this brand, but it was the best he'd ever tasted as it slid down his throat. His father placed a small cooler with a six-pack in between them and settled into the lawn chair beside him. John studied the trees lining the backyard and smiled as two birds flew through the oaks in a flirting dance as they squawked loudly. "What are your plans for the night?" He turned from the birds back to his father. "Going to the pit with Corey and Elliot." His father nodded. The pit had been there ever since his father was a kid. It was where everyone went to hang out and party from the time they were in high school to their early 20s. John knew his friends were planning a party for him there tonight. "I spent my 18th birthday down there." His father leaned over and pulled another beer from the cooler. That was the night I met your mom." "Mom went to the pit?" His father's smile widened as he twisted the cap off. "Don't let her motherly demeanor fool you. She was once a little crazy." John wasn't entirely sure he wanted to think about his mom any less mom-like. He certainly didn't like thinking about her at the pit. They were his parents, and he liked to keep them in that box. His father handed him another beer. As he twisted the cap off, he realized perhaps he liked them out of the box just a little bit. "Hard to picture," he commented. "You'll get to see it one day." "I hope so," John said, as he tossed the cap into the cooler. His father smiled at him and tapped his bottle against John's. "You will. Happy birthday, son. The best ones are yet to come. Maybe you'll meet someone tonight." "I hope not." His dad snorted as he chugged down his beer and leaned back in the chair. "I felt the exact same way, believe me." The sun moved lower in the sky as they drank their beer in amicable silence. He should get up and start getting ready, but he was loath to tear himself away. Though he was only 18, he knew he'd never have this moment again. They may share more drinks together, but once he stood up, this moment would be over. His phone began to vibrate against his leg as the default ringer played. "You going to answer that?" his father asked. "There are 2 beers left. I'll call them back." His father nodded as the sun reached the horizon. "It won't always be like this, you know," his father said. "Like what?" John asked. "Simple, easy. It only gets tougher with age." He didn't think his life was simple and easy now, but he wasn't in the mood to argue with his dad. Not today. "I believe it. There was no recess in high school, after all." His dad chuckled as he reached into the cooler again. The ice water sloshed against the side as he pulled out the last 2 beers and handed one to John. "No, there wasn't." Pink and orange spread across the sky in a growing wave that made it seem as if a giant hand reached toward him. The thought caused a shudder to ripple through him as he became unreasonably chilled. He couldn't shake the image of someone or something reaching out of the sky to grab hold of him and put an end to his simple life. You're not really here, you know. John had to tear his attention away from the sky to focus on his father again. Excuse me? Here. You're not here, I'm not here. You realize that, don't you? John frowned as his father swung his legs over the side of the chair and leaned toward him. None of this exists anymore. I don't exist anymore. Don't say that. The bottle dangled from his father's fingertips as he held it between his middle and index fingers. There was a look in his eyes John would have associated with someone looking for their next drug fix. He was tempted to lean away from his father, but this was his dad. There was no reason to feel any unease around him.